Boy, it is hot and it is humid and it is the middle of summer. And I have a car I want to review for you, but I hate this weather. If only I could somehow make it happen that we went back in time to this winter and had a look at the Genesis GV70 in much more pleasant circumstances. How about now? Wow, that was easy. Now, if I could just conjure up 1 million subscribers. Okay, it's a Genesis. Now what's the first thing we wonder when we see a Genesis like this GV70? What kind of motor does it have? Does it have a motor or does it have an internal combustion engine? This particular model, it does indeed have a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. So, while you can also get this electrified, we have here a really nice version that has a very popular type of engine these days, especially, strangely enough, on trucks. Both Ford makes the 3.5 V6 that's a twin turbo, and so does Toyota, Toyota's is actually a 3.4 liter. But it's a real popular size to turbocharge for a lot of different reasons, but in this particular application, it fits this car like a glove. It puts out a whopping 375 horsepower and channeled through an 8-speed automatic transmission is a real pleasure to drive, but it also has all the performance you might want. But if you want to be more economical in your driving, you can also get the mileage that helps you do that. I mean, the only bad thing about it is it does use premium fuel. But there's your gas version, and the gas version we're going to test this week has a very fantastic smoothness to it that I really love, and it's also beautifully tuned so that it instead of having like a big hit of power, most of the time it feels like it's just a much bigger engine, even like a small V8. So what else do we have? Well, we have 113 inches between the axles. There's your wheelbase, and this is a crossover sport utility vehicle, so this particular model, the 3.5T, which is the one with the V6 engine, comes standard with all-wheel drive, which is very useful in the conditions you see it in right now, because we've had some of the white stuff, some of the powdered sugar on the road that makes it very slick, but this car has proven to be very sure-footed, and there's a lot of great things about it. It's funny, because Genesis is a luxury brand, right? And it does have the sporting performance and all the things that you're accustomed to when it comes to a luxury brand. It has really comfortable interior. It's very quiet. But what surprised me about it is the utility of this vehicle. It's proven to be a real good, especially here in this winter we're having, a really good versatile machine to have. It has great traction, as I mentioned before, but it also has quite a bit of room in it and quite a bit of cargo room. All the things that you would like to have in your SUV. It's also very beautiful. It's very stylish, especially in this particular hue. And what I really like about this particular model is the wheels are beautiful. We'll look at them closer in just a minute. But it's a real nice driver, and I have driven an electrified version of this vehicle. Matter of fact, I think I've driven most of the electrified versions of the various Genesi that are available. And they're fantastic, but Depending on your lifestyle, a lot of times it's just much better overall for you to have a gasoline-powered engine, because if you do a lot of driving and your time is limited, like say you're a person who's let's say you're a person who makes sales calls of some sort, and you have your samples or whatever you have in the back. Let's say you sell what shall we say? Let's say computer servers. Okay, you have that in the back here. You got your computer servers, right? And then you have to go all over the place here in the Northeast to sell your computer servers. And in order to do that, you have to be able to drive quite a few miles per day. And your schedule is a tight one, so you can't be sitting there for an hour, 2 hours charging your car. So a gasoline engine might come in real handy there. Well, there you go. You have no dependency on any kind of an electrical system, charging station, what have you. You just have to put gas in it from time to time, and off you go. But as we dig further deeper and further deeper, is that an actual expression? No. As we dig deeper into this engine, which I'm about to show you, I want you to remember something else about it. It is a real jewel in terms of smoothness and balance. It's just such a good fit for this vehicle. And that's not always the case with cars. Sometimes the engine's a little bit underpowered, or it doesn't have the refinement you would expect given the particular luxury nameplate, but this has everything it needs to have to make you happy if you're into the market for a luxury sport utility. Ooh, it's windy and cold, and there will be camera shadows to entertain you. Look at the beautiful symmetry of this engine. I have to tell you, it's a beautiful thing to look upon because everything is so balanced. You got, your engine is mounted in longitudinal style, so you have a cylinder bank on each side, left side and right side, and then you have a turbocharger attached to your exhaust manifold on each side, this side, and where is it? This side. So you have all this balance, and then you have, look at these beautiful air intakes and your air boxes up there that have your air filters in it. And you can tell the air comes in through, goes through the air box, and then down yonder, way down there, sorry, there we are, is your turbocharger. And your turbocharger, of course, comes right out of the exhaust manifold. That spins a turbine that then spins an impeller that compresses the gas that comes in from your air box, but it makes it hotter when it does that. So we leave here and go down to our intercooling system, and it does this on both sides, and then it comes back up into your injection system, and Bob's your uncle. You then go directly into the engine and produce 375 horsepower at 5,800 RPM. Whoa, that's up there. That's getting up there in the RPMs. But it can handle it. I trust it. And what are our torque numbers? 391 pounds of feet at a nice broad torque spread of 1,300 RPMs all the way to 4,500 RPMs. Amazing, huh? All these, like I said, these values are based on premium fuel, which this is what it wants. And you have, everything is fairly accessible on this thing. I mean, more than anything else though, it just looks like the detail work on the rest of the car, the detail work under the hood is beautiful. I mean, it's a really nice looking engine. And I care about stuff like that. And so should you. Here we have struts. Now, whenever I see these things, there's one on each side, they're stiffeners. They're designed to stiffen up the chassis a little bit. And I always am torn. I'm torn between the idea of, well, it's great that they put those in there because that makes the ride much stiffer, handling better. Probably even helps in crash when the thing folds up if you run into a brick wall or something. It helps in every aspect of that. But I often think to myself, it's an afterthought. Why isn't the chassis stiff enough to begin with that you have to actually put those in? Well, they're not uncommon. They're everywhere. I mean, name your manufacturer and they do something like this. And the reason is, ultimately, very careful engineering that ultimately results in lightweight. It's a good way of getting the stiffness that you need at a lower weight, because you are literally putting the particular stiffeners exactly where they need to be to tighten up the chassis. So that's why you see them, and it's not like it's you know, something you're a band-aid that you're sticking on something because, you know, we got to do something, it's not stiff enough, we better bolt those things on there. No, what they're doing is they're looking at the overall picture, and they're looking at the goal of what kind of body stiffness they want and where, and fine-tuning that by adding these braces, which are actually very nice looking. As braces go, they're very nice looking. But there you have it. What kind of oil do we use? Does it say? Where do I put my oil in? Well, there's the engine oil dipstick. We have a dipstick, that bright orange thing right there. Where do we put the oil in? There's your coolant. I think that coolant right there goes directly into the intercooler too, but I'm not sure. Intercoolers. I don't know if they use one or two, probably two. Whoops, hey, there's our camera shadow. I told you you'd get one. Well, it says Shell Helix or Quaker State. What, did those companies merge? What the heck? I don't know. I'm gonna say 020. I don't know what. Let's look up here. Let's read everything. Oh, look, Hyundai Motor Company vehicle emission control information. Wow. There we go. Huh. Well, what's Hyundai have to do with this? Oh yeah. They are Genesis, and Genesis is Hyundai, and they are together. Well, I don't know exactly where you put the oil in. But it's probably maybe, I can't find it. It's here somewhere. Somewhere, if you need to add oil, you can. I'm just not sure where. You know what? I bet it's right underneath that engine cover. I'd pop that off, but I'll probably slip on the ice that I'm walking around on. All right. Enough of our 3.5T. Isn't it beautiful? I love looking at this engine, and I love the way Genesis has laid it out, because it's a real nice piece of work. And it adds to that whole feeling you get of quality, because it's very nicely finished, and it's very elegantly laid out, and it adds a sense of confidence that your money is going somewhere where it's not an inexpensive car, but you get what you pay for. That's the feeling you want. Here's those beautiful wheels I was talking about earlier. These are 21 inches too, massive. And you have, look at the size of that Genesis. Genesis, it is a type of flower. Genesis brake caliper, huge, and a massive rotor. So you have great brakes on this thing. It's not just for show. It actually does have excellent brakes, all in keeping with the way the chassis is tuned and everything else. You can drive this thing really fast if you want to. It has all the requirements. It has a nice stiff chassis. It has a very powerful engine, very smooth shifting transmission, all-wheel drive, and nice big brakes. What's our tire size? Our tire size is 255/40 R21. And these are your Michelins on here, these all-season Michelins, which have proven to be real good in the snow. I have no complaints about these tires at all. They've done great, because we've had, you see this stuff right here? You see all this crap here? It's the kind of thing that it'll freeze, it'll melt, and then it'll refreeze, and then you get a dusting of snow on top of that, and man, is it slick. Woo! It's rough on your traction. So this vehicle has done very, very well in the snow. I have been impressed. I say, here's fun. Push the button. And look what happens. Neat, huh? Here we have our beautifully finished cargo area, and our 60/40 split, which is pretty much standard these days on most vehicles. It's beautifully finished in here, and it's fairly deep, but it's really wide. This is a nice, generous cargo area. And you're looking at 28.9 cubic feet of space with the seats folded up like, I mean with seats deployed like that. When they're folded up or folded down or put down so that you can expand your area, it's 56.9 cubic feet of space, which is quite a bit. And underneath here, we have a variety of tools and things like that, and I have checked underneath this thing right here is your temporary spare tire. So you do have a spare tire on this vehicle, which is great. Again, utility. This is like a practical vehicle for a person who actually travels and needs the all-wheel drive to get through rough weather. And like I said, if you're going to sell those computer servers, this is a really, really good vehicle to have. I'd admire it. Hell, your computer servers will even ride smoothly back there. So, with no further ado, we're going to get inside this thing and look at all the electronics, which are vast and complex. But as we gaze upon the exterior, it's kind of like a mid-size. It feels a little bit larger than that, but it really pays dividends in terms of space for both the passengers and the cargo. So the GV70, of course, slots in between the GV60 and the GV80. I guess there's a lot of GVs in the Genesis realm, and like I said, electric or gas, the choice is yours. On this particular Genesis GV70, we have a 12.3-inch instrument cluster. Isn't it something? Try to get some of that glare to go away, but then there's the glare from the sun, and it's impossible. There's too many shiny surfaces. But I want to show you something right off the bat. Now, as you can see, we have a very nice analog display here. Currently, it is keyed to whatever drive mode you're in. So if we put it in, we are right now in our Eco Drive mode, I believe. If we go to Snow, it does that. If we go to Eco, which is where we were, it does that. If we go to Comfort, it does that. If we go to Sport, it naturally, everything always turns red when you go into Sport, it just does. And then if we go to Sport Plus, the same, and then there's Custom. And Custom, of course, allows us to take bits and pieces from the other settings and put them together in our own personal setting, which is probably what most of you ended up. If you own this car, I would recommend doing that, because then you can take, there's a variety of different things here that will allow you to change to suit your own personality. Now I'm going to do something that's going to scare you, because you may think it's a monster from the id that I'm releasing, but I assure you I'm not doing that. But right now the instrument cluster has a 3D effects system that's available for your pleasure. Now we're off right now. I'm not using the 3D effects, but if I put it on maximum, watch what happens as the monster from the id appears. Ah! Now what that is, your naked eye, or your looking through a GoPro eye, can not detect that when it's on. And it does, in fact, give the instrument cluster an amazing degree of spatial, I don't know how to explain it. It does simulate that it's 3 dimensions, even though it is only one. It's a flat screen. But how they do that, I think, is that it's sort of like, instead of having a little door open up and some 3D glasses come out that you put on, it does this instead, and it's doing something, I don't know what. Exactly. But it is enabling this 3D effect, and those red lights are not some demon from hell. They're actually just part of the system, and I will now deactivate it by doing this. There we go. So that's how that works. So it's a beautiful, like all Genesis vehicles, it's a beautiful instrument cluster. And we have a variety of internals we can do here, like our drive information. Right now, this particular trip is 0. Now, this is a setting that tells you the trip you're on right this minute. And I've never really understood that, although it does allow you to reset it during, ice is possible, drive with care. Usually that happens with most vehicles when it gets down to 37 degrees. It is 39 degrees, but they want you to be cautious here. even though, incidentally, this car does very, very well in the snow. But you have all these different settings, and 3D instrument cluster, heads-up display. I'll turn that on very briefly here for you. If you can see that. Can you see that? Again, it's going to tell you not to do certain things with it. You can do other things with it. But it's not my cup of tea, as you guys probably know, if you've stayed with me for a while. But anyway, what else do we have? Oh, we have a digital speedometer we can put in the middle of it. The driver attention warning system is off because I don't like it. Tire pressure, I have to actually have the car moving in order to display that, and that is because it's using the wheel speed monitors on it, and that's normal for most vehicles, except the really more pricey ones typically have one that just directly sends a signal from the tire, measures the air pressure, and just sends it directly into the CPU, which displays it to you. But this is the kind that judges the tire pressure primarily through differential wheel spinning, I guess. But here, oh, this is a fun one. This is our this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, so then we have a breakdown of which drivetrain is doing what at a given time. And this vehicle you can get with two-wheel drive only, which incidentally means the rear drivetrain is the active one. The front one is just like a regular car and doesn't do anything. But we have the all-wheel drive version because the 3.5T, which you're in, this model comes standard, which is great because it makes this vehicle so much more useful. Then look at all these other gauges we have here. You have oil temperature, torque, turbo. What happens if I do this? More torque, more turbo. Yeah, wow, look at there. Oh, cool, huh? So anyway, that's in our central display. Everything else is very straightforward. You do have a pretty continuous monitor right down here of your fuel economy. And I've been getting about 20, 22 for the most part with this vehicle, which given the 375 horsepower is not bad. Not bad at all. That's actually quite good. As we back up here, we'll go from incidentally, oh, there's this too. I'm sorry, I forgot that. But we can also display what's going on with our adaptive cruise control. And we have a compass for your pleasure. And if you set a route in the navigation system, that will also show up there. And then it goes back to where we were. So we do have a few little variations available to you. And while I'm over on this part of the steering wheel, this is where our cruise control center is, where you can have your adaptive cruise control. And whether or not you'd like to have your lane tracing or your lane centering on is right here, very convenient to your thumb. So you can turn it on and off, and it'll work fine when the cruise control is not on too, if you like that sort of thing. It will steer the car for you in limited capacity, just like everything else that's out there right now. Sometimes you'll end up fighting the steering wheel under what I describe as unusual conditions, and that's where, if you're following all the stories about what's going on with automated driving systems and the big fight that's going on with Tesla and the federal government, because 33 people, I believe, have been killed while the Tesla was driving itself. This is something that's not quite ready for prime time, in my view, because it doesn't have the ability to react to very unusual situations. And I don't know, if you're like me, I encounter very unusual situations when I'm driving all the time. So you got to use it judiciously. That's the thing. And a lot of people are not very judicious in their driving because so much of it has become automated now, and they're not paying attention like they used to. So just bear that in mind when you're using any kind of lane tracing. And as you'll see when we're out driving the car, it works well on this car. Hyundai, which is of course the parent company, has always been, I feel like, slightly ahead of most of the pack in terms of how well their lane centering works. That's just my opinion, and with experience of driving the cars, that's just what I've experienced. But anyway, and this Genesis does a good job. So this here is our following distance in our adaptive cruise control, and then this is what I was using to scroll up and down like that. And this, of course, is turning our cruise control. We can cancel, we can resume, up and, you know the drill with cruise control. Over here, this is more sound oriented right here. This is our selected channels. This is your volume. The star is becoming more and more common on more and more vehicles, and usually that star denotes a button that can be tuned to do what you want it to do. There's quite a variety of stuff in the main menu that'll let you pick what you want that button to do. If there's a task, for example, that you like to do all the time but would like a button that just does it, like, I don't know, turn off the right side, or let's say you want to, well, let's look at it. Or let's cut the crap here, and we'll just go right over here. We'll go to the home screen, and we'll go to, oops, I do that all the time. Something I have to, don't let me forget. Navigation, device connections, user profile, button and touchpad. Custom button, there we go. Custom button by audio, none, but you can make that your home setting. Instead of having to push the home button down here, you can use this if you like. Or Bluetooth audio, driver assistance settings, phone, all these. See, look at all the different things you can do. Now it says by audio. Well, what does that mean? Well, there's one of those stars right here. And if you go to the steering wheel, which I was just showing you, these are all the things you can do. Reject it in phone calls, privacy mode, voice memos, go to the home screen, all these things. And it's all programmable by you, so you can custom fit the car, which is nice. It's always nice to be able to do that. We'll go back to media now. I'm back to our friend, the lively forest. So anyway, those are all these, look at all the controls we already have, and we just got started practically. So on the left-hand side, you have your lighting system. You have this is where you turn on and off your auto start feature. If for some reason you're in a circumstance where you want to keep the engine running at all times, instead of having it stop when you park at a stop sign or a traffic light, you can turn that off. If you hold this down right here, your rear gate will open or close depending on its current status. This will turn off your cruise control. Over here we have, these are your settings so that you can custom set two settings depending on the keys you're using. Like if you have two people with two different keys, like your wife and your husband situation, and your wife gets in the car and it'll know it's her and save all the settings that she set. And if it's you, if you're a male or you're a female, if you're the other spouse, spouse A, or spouse one I should say, and you set it for number one right there, when you get in the car with your key fob, it'll go to all your settings, the mirrors, seat, steering wheel, because this is power operated. See, look there, you can do that. Go in and out. Oh, yeah. So that's that. Now, as you can see, we have a very widescreen situation with our central display, and it's pretty much straightforward. It is a touch screen. So if I want to go back here, I can press it like that, or I can use this hellish device right here. Now this thing, here's the problem I have with it. This is up and down, and you can pivot it back and forth and do all kinds of things to get you where you're going on your navigation screen. But here's a real problem I have with this car and the other Genesis that are like this. This is a transmission selector right here, and this is what I was just playing with, your multimedia whatever. They're almost the same diameter, and they're right next to each other. So it is really easy if you're not paying attention, which most of us aren't anymore. We quit, I think 1998 started not paying attention anymore. But anyway, if you're distracted or whatever, or if this is not the only vehicle you drive all the time, and you're not 100%, your body memory is not just hot wired into the car, it's real easy. Like I want to turn the radio on, or I want to change my radio channel, which is incidentally right here. I'll mute that. And you want to change the channel and do stuff like that with this. You can accidentally reach down here and grab it and put it from park into some other gear. Now, yes, it is different from the standpoint of this has got a knurled edge on it and this doesn't, but they're real close. If you're just using the tips of your hands, they're real close. And I find that to be bad. I really don't like that. And I think Genesis needs to rethink that, because I don't know why everybody is so dead set on changing how we turn our transmission settings on and off. How we put the car in gear is changing constantly. They're coming up with little wands and everything, but I don't think I've seen a trackpad yet, but how far can that be away? But they feel like they need to put some other way. Instead of using tried and true systems that have worked for decades and decades and people are all familiar with them, they keep doing things like this to just make it different. And I don't frankly think that's the best move, personally, but that's me. But while I'm on this part of the vehicle, this is also, you have a number of ways to get to where you're going on your navigation screen. And you can, here's our back and our home and our menu buttons right here. This is where I was selecting the drive modes. This is your park warning system, which has your parking sensors that'll scream at you if you're about to run into something when you're parking the car, which is good to have. This is probably my favorite button in the whole vehicle right here. This has an excellent camera system. And as you can see, I can do this, whee, and there's our car. Now, when we're driving along very slowly, that pops up and you can see us driving along. Now, one thing about that, it's the wrong color. I hate to be blunt, but that's the truth of the matter. This is not a white car, this is a blue car. And somewhere in the system, I promise you, there is a way to probably put the right color in, but somebody was funning around with it and put a white car in there. Or maybe this vehicle identifies itself as a white car. I don't know. Who knows with these things? So anyway, that's our center section. What's in this? Well, here is our electronics section. Now, here is our QI charger, which incidentally, in the main menu, you can turn on and off. For some reason, it does not want to charge my phone. It does not like my phone. It is just blinking at me and telling me that it's not charging properly. So I don't know why that is. Could it be the case? Absolutely, it could be the case. It could be the case that it's the case. But if you have a normal phone and you don't have a case on it, I'm sure it'll work fine. You have two. Now, here's another quirky thing about this car. There we have two USB-A ports. Now, why not USB-C ports somewhere in the car? Well, I haven't found any. Everything I've found has been a USB-A. If we look in here, we have very nice subtle lighting. We have a 12-volt source for you to plug in things, but there's nothing in here. In this, it's very nicely finished, by the way, as far as a USB-C port. So I don't get it, to tell you the truth. I'm a bit flummoxed, and with cars nowadays, they hide them all over the place, these ports, but I have not encountered a USB-C port. And I've had this car for a week, so I don't know. The glove box is nice and deep, as you can see. The owner's manual is vast, but not so vast as to have every bit of information you need. I found that out when I was looking for something and never did find it. And what was I looking for? I was looking for how to turn the phone charger on and off, and I just finally encountered it in the menu. But I never saw anything in the owner's manual anywhere about how to access the charging system. So I don't know. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's probably just me and I couldn't find it. But I'm pretty good with the things like indexes. I've been reading them since I was a child. So anyway, but that's the deal. You can turn that off and turn it on, and odds are with your phone it'll work. So what do we have up here? Well, we have something real interesting. We have a beautiful panorama, as you can see, and I'll put it all the way back. And then we're opening up. Wow, look at there. But as you can see, it's very, very dark in its tinting. And I don't think there is any way to change that. And you can close it completely, of course, with that shade. But otherwise, it's darkly tinted at all times. You can't lighten it up so that it's really brighter in here, which I've never encountered that before, to be honest with you. That's an interesting choice, too, I must admit. Very interesting choice. So, without further ado, is there anything else important I need to tell you about? No. Although I do like these pedals. Those pedals are nice, huh? Metal on top of there. Okay, let's have a look in the back seat then. And this is where this thing really shines. We have a nice big, almost 90 degrees opener right there to get into the back seat. In we climb. The front seat is arrayed for a 5'8" tall person at the moment. We'll put that there. Oh, by the way, before I forgot, this leather is beautiful. This is Napa leather, and it is heated and ventilated, which is absolutely great. These seats are fabulous. You can massage. Matter of fact, the thing just started massaging. After a certain period of time, like when you're driving for over an hour, it seems to want to massage you. I have that setting turned on somehow, but just as a seat that is not in the massaging mode, these are really comfortable seats. Excellent side bolsters for good lateral support during cornering. They're great. They're just great. That's all there is to it. Okay, so we have very plentiful leg room, very plentiful headroom. It's a very roomy car, period. If you're really tall in the front seat, like say 6'3", 6'4", it will impinge upon the room of the person directly behind the driver, but you're still going to be comfortable back here. It's that good. And here we have, oh, look at all this stuff here. I can move this seat up and down from back here if I want to. Like if this person is sitting here and the person in the front seat has got it all the way back and is being a nuisance, you just press that button and there's nothing they can do about it. They can't do nothing. Off you go. And then this, to expand room for whatever, you can actually recline from here. So that's a very useful feature I've discovered, because sometimes you do want to adjust that seat for different things. And you have the ability to do that from the driver's seat, which is nice. Okay, down here, look at this. Isn't this beautiful? This is your own personal climate control for your rear seating area. And yep, heated seats on the outboard there. And you have an automatic setting here, which is now on, and it will zone this at 67 degrees right now the way it's set. You want to change the temperature right there. It's beautiful. So you have everything almost that you have in the front heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system as you have back here, which is great. Now, could we possibly have? Well, we do have a 115? Huh. 115 volt and 150 watt power port right there, so you can plug some. So that's weird. It's not 120, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. More of the USB-A's. No USB-C for you. I don't get it. But, you know, we can live with that. There's adapters if you need it. But both your passengers back here, if there's two people residing in luxury back here, you can plug in your devices while you're back here. Here's our armrest, which is at a perfect and jaunty angle. And by the way, the lower back support, my back is kind of screwed up right now. And these seats are absolutely delicious because it has just enough lower lumbar support to make it really comfortable. And as you can see, that panorama roof I had open earlier comes all the way. But matter of fact, let's do that. Let's do that. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know why it's opening. I didn't tell you to open. Wow, look at that wind deflector. Isn't that impressive? Well, let's see if I can get it to... No, I guess I can. No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to blow this thing out is what I'm going to do. Well, I'm trying to get it to do... There we go. All right, I did it. God, it only took me 20 minutes. Okay, but there is our beautiful panorama roof, right? And it is very darkly tinted, but it's beautiful. And that adds a sense of spaciousness and airiness to the rear cabin. Map light, you know it. Nice little LED map lights here. So there you go. This is this is probably one of the nicest features of a very nice car overall, which is the rear seat is great. You also have, of course, your shades. That's good to have. It's manual. It's not electric. That's one less thing that can break, right? I look at it that way. And the fit and finish on this entire car is beautiful. High quality. That's, you know, just a Genesis. Genesis competes with the big guys, with the Mercedes, with the BMWs, with the Lexi, with the Cadillacs, with the Lincolns. They're in that class. And what they do for you, one of the most interesting things, is they tend to have very similar equipment level as the vehicles I just mentioned for a lower price. Although not that much lower. I mean, these cars get very expensive. For example, this headliner is a black microfiber, and it's a really, really nice headliner. Those things are really expensive. So to get that beautiful feeling, I mean, I don't know if you like to sit here and rub the headliner. I do. It's a very expensive material. So in order to get the quality that you get in this class of vehicle, you got to spend some bucks to do it, which means they got to charge you some bucks. But I still think with Genesis, you get a little bit more for your money in terms of equipment packages and that kind of thing. Okay, so there is our beautiful interior, and I hope you enjoyed it. I have been enjoying it, like I said, for the last week, and this is a real nice car overall. I got so few complaints and many accolades to share. And let's go for a drive, shall we? Now we're going to go down one of my favorite little drives here that has some very interesting bumps in it. Now what's our, you ask? It's a car from Pennsylvania. Drive modes. We're in Eco now, which I don't recall setting that, but comfort. And we'll go to sport soon. Another thing I like really, and again, it's one of these things that varies a lot from manufacturer to manufacturer, but how easy it is to change these drive modes. And I've said before, it so depends on the vehicle as to whether or not the drive mode changes from, like, say, sport to custom to eco to normal, how much change there actually is and what all it affects. The one thing you can be guaranteed, usually, is it alters your electronic automatic transmission a little bit. And what it does more than anything else, whenever you put it on sport, it almost always will hold the gear a little bit longer to get you further up into the power band for a more sporting type of performance. But not always. But that's pretty much, if there's any universal among all of them, that's one of them. But otherwise, depending on the type of system involved, it can tweak all kinds of things. It can tweak your suspension, it can tweak your steering, and on this car, I think it touches just about everything depending on what the setting is. And I believe, let's go to Sport Plus for a minute here. We're on Sport, it's automatic. Oh, and of course, the instrumentation gets red when you go into Sport. It's never any other color, it's always red. Sport Plus, there we go. Whoa, it immediately dropped down into a lower gear, I'm telling you. But I am not sure. I'd have to go through the main menu, and I've already done that, haven't I, when I went through this? I don't know. But so many alternate sport settings, now we've gone back to comfort, let you fine-tune all the different parameters. Perfect example of that is Subaru's with some of their drive mode systems. You can adjust a bunch of things on it. Steering being one of the most interesting, because you can tighten up the steering. Again, that's another one of the things electric power steering gives you. And this car has got so much good stuff on it electronically that I like it because it's accessible. It's easy to find. And we also have, I don't know if you can see that, but activated on this vehicle is there's a camera in each mirror, and it shines back, and that is to check your blind spot, and it does that when you turn on your turn signal at lower speeds, like I just did. So you can look, plus you have the blind spot warnings in the mirrors themselves that shows up. But that is really interesting and fun, that particular setting that allows you to see through the camera. But at the same time, Genesis has been smart enough that while these mirrors aren't real big, they're not super tiny. They're still pretty effective mirrors. Those work all the time. And cameras can quit on you. Cameras can get covered with crap. Of course, your mirror can get covered with crap, but usually what happens is it gets snow or ice on it, but then you just press the defroster button and heated elements within the mirror will get rid of that stuff in very short order. So, all right, now we're in the comfort zone, and I'm going over some rough terrain a little bit. Now let's go to sport. Whoa, every time, boom, instantly downshift. But it doesn't seem like there's any great deterioration of ride quality. And I mean, even when you're on the comfort zone with the suspension of this car, it handles real nice and tight. It's got a very firm. Now I'm going over some nastiness, and I can feel the nastiness, but it's not harsh. And we'll power through this corner a little bit here. There we are. Very good control. There's a real nice dip coming up that unsettles many a chassis. There it is. Boom. Very quick. Not a lumbering type of effect. A lot of cars and pickups even kind of lumber through that change, and because it unloads, it completely unloads the suspension, then loads it back very quickly, so you get a nice little bang, little bit of rebound. So this is one of my favorite bumpy corners. You may recognize it if you've watched a lot of these videos, but the pickup on this car is so quick, especially in the sport mode. No brake necessary, around we go. And it just kind of hammers down those bumps. Now, I want to go immediately back to comfort, because there's so much little imperfections on this road that I can feel in sport. But like I said, never harsh, just there. And here we have a bit of a, you see a lot of this around here. You see the, this is a hard dollar right here, man. These fellas are excellent workers, because this is not an easy job. But they're trimming our trees around our power lines for us. Oop, and there's a thing I got to run over because this guy's busy with his phone. There we go. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. There's one lady there. So overall, this car does have what I would absolutely consider to be a good luxury car ride, on par with pretty much everything else in the category. You're not going to get, well, now I'm going to tell a story now. On some Mercedes and BMWs I have driven, you don't ever have a suspension setting on it that is that comfortable in terms of really soaking up the bumps. It's always, you always get a fair amount of feedback from the road, and that's the sporting side of things. Especially, for example, the M1 BMWs and the AMG Mercedes. They tend to have really firm suspensions, and people are usually more than willing to accept that, given that they want the performance version of the car, so they want something that handles really flat. But I like a luxury car that when you want to, you can just luxuriate along instead of driving in a sporty, aggressive manner. And this car is very good at this. I'm very impressed with. I mean, well, what do we have now? We have a GV80, a GV60, I mean, there's so many GVs. Genesis is coming out that has a size for you. This is probably, going to go out on a limb here, I believe it's the smallest of the GV series. But I mean, I say that, it's still got a lot of room in it. I mean, it's more of a mid-size than what I would never, maybe it's what it's called, but I would never actually call this a compact, because it seems to have much more room than that. I tell you, these roads that I regularly drive these cars on are such a good test, because so many of them they're starting to fall apart, and it's not because they don't do a good job of maintaining the roads. They do. But when you have these kind of crazy weather swings that we have all the time, and the application of things like a lot of road salt and all kinds of things like that, the roads take a beating, and it doesn't take too long before they have to be tended to again. But before that tending takes place, you have a surface that's very entertaining in terms of whether or not it's good, bad, or indifferent. Now we're going to go a little bit different way up here, and I want to drive some more on these back roads because I'm really sampling this ride quality on this car. Okay then. See, even though I'm in the comfort driving mode, it still has plenty of pickup. I mean, this thing does not, it goes. And I think that's all the incredible job these engineers are doing on these engines, since everybody's turbocharging engines now. I don't think there's any exception. I can't offhand think of a single manufacturer that doesn't have at least one or two turbocharged engines in their lineup. They're getting better and better at it because they have to be. That's the way everything's going. It's just like, for the longest time, there's a lot of manufacturers that didn't have anything smaller. Manufacturers that, let's say, primarily served places like Europe and things like that, where not everybody was screaming for a big V8 or V6 engine. But they started, as they expanded into the North American market, they started building V6s and V8s, and they build real good ones. And it's the same thing. Everybody's all competing on the same playing field, as they say when they are doing their analogies. And the result is they're learning how to really fine-tune their turbocharging, and the manufacturers that make turbochargers for these other manufacturers are really working hard in their R&D departments to come up with new and innovative ways to turbocharge things. For example, on Ram pickups, and is on Ram pickups and Jeeps, and think it's a straight 6, but it is also a dual turbocharger design. So an engine like this, like I explained before, it's a V6, so it has 3 and 3, 2 3-cylinder cylinder banks. And so there's a turbocharger bolted to the exhaust manifold of each cylinder bank. It's very straightforward. But with an inline 6, if you want to have a dual turbocharger system, it's a little more complex. You have it's all straight, one line, 6 cylinders, so there has to be 2 different turbochargers, one for this 3 cylinders and one for this 3 cylinders. And the reason they have to do it that way is because 6-cylinder inline engines are interesting in that how their exhaust actually expends itself when the car is in let's just say it's in the proper orientation with the crankshaft and the piston strokes, so that it gets the maximum amount of power, but it means that the exhaust is not completely consistent all the way across. Some cylinders will be doing expending exhaust, some won't. So by having 2 different turbochargers attached to different cylinder groups, they're able to compensate for that, and so you have a nice smooth exit of power. Now, I have driven the new Mazda inline 6 turbocharged, and right off the bat I could swear it just had 1 turbocharger, but I'll have to go back and check. I will have to look at that. Have I posted that yet? I don't know if I've posted that. I don't think I have. I should. I will. But there you go. Very smooth runner overall. And again, I don't detect any tire noise, a little bit of road noise, but not much. And then what's really quiet is the wind noise. This windshield is terrific in that I imagine it's one of these latest generation types of windshields that has multi-panes inside it, to quiet down so that you don't hear anything, basically. It's a trick that I think the German manufacturers have been doing for years. And it keeps it makes such a big difference on the interior of the car, especially the most important aspect of that is the windshield. The side windows are not quite as critical, but I imagine they too have multiple pane designs to help keep the sound down. Now, your central display here, it's got our navigation on it at the moment, is really, this is something I'm seeing more and more of too, is it's in the landscape format, but it's really widescreen. It's genuine cinemascope type of thing. And it really shows a lot in terms of what's on your left and what's on your right. I find it to be, I still prefer this to a really big portrait mode, but that's personal choice, and I think you should consider that very carefully when you're test driving vehicles that you may be potentially going to buy, which you like more, because you spend a ridiculous amount of time these days messing with your central screen. There cars, I know children, cars used to not have those. There used to just be ventilation up here and maybe a radio and your heating, ventilating, air conditioning system, and that was it. You didn't have any of this here, it's not there. So now we have that to distract us, and more manufacturers are punting all the functions that you used to have switches and buttons for onto that screen. It's fun to listen to this thing go. Sounds like a V8, don't it? It does. It sounds a lot like a V8. But it just zooms along. This, I tell you, it seems very effortless, and right now, my average miles per gallon, according to this thing, is 19.2. And I tell you, it keeps doing one thing I don't like, which is, oh man. I thought, I thought this thing had reset after it was filled up with gas, but it hasn't. What happens if I do this? Huh. Boy, that's a bummer. I could have sworn I checked it. And it has it's one of these cars that every time you get in it, it measures that trip that you go. If you go to the grocery store or if you go to Maine, it just measures that trip. And every time you turn the engine off and then start it back up again, it resets itself. Why does it do that? What kind of information is that? I don't get it. What happens if I do this? No, it doesn't. What the hell? Did I just turn off my 3D cluster? Yeah, I did. No. I don't know what's going on. I'm confused again. Well, that's what you get when you get these incredibly elaborate systems that can do many things. You can never find this. You can never find what you're looking for. Well, hell's bells. Well, anyway, I'm gonna have to, when I do my, I won't be able to do my gas mileage calculations. I'll have to just go by what the computer says, and they're rarely accurate. So far, since I've been driving 1.3 miles, it was saying I was getting 47 miles per gallon. That's a fallacy. It's now dropped to 34, and it will continue to plummet. 31. Well, at least it's easy to access. If I'd known how to do it right away, then I thought I did, though. God, I thought I'd figured this out. So our 2024 GV70 Genesis all-wheel drive 3.5T Sport Prestige has a base price of $57,500 as equipped With options, we came to $68,870. And our combined city and country gas mileage is 20 miles per gallon. So there you go, folks. What do you think? Is this something for you? I hope so. And thanks for joining us in this wintertime, this scape of winter that I've injected into your overly hot summer. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you'll be careful out there when you're driving around. And at the end of this, I got a little treat for you. It's all about sounds of nature.
Do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.
Friends, have you asked yourself, if I was a sound of nature, what would I be? Would I be a lively forest? Would I be on a sailing ship? Woo! Oh, there! Got a fish on! Would we be a city at dawn? Hey, yo! Get off the sidewalk. What the is this? Does this look like a high school running track to you? Get away, I gotta put on my stuff. Or would you experience the universe? Mr. Sulu, engage warp factor 3. Me? I'm Captain Tarkington. No, you wouldn't do that. How about rainy day? Oh, I find great peace in the rainy day. Yes. Unfortunately, I'm standing out in the rain. It's 38 degrees, and I have no proper raiment. How about a moment of meditation after that horrible experience? All I can think about is it's time to feed the cat. But spring is near. You could be a harbinger of spring. Spring is coming. And oh my God, ow, what? Oh, mosquitoes, great. How about a summer's night rest? Yes, my dear. Would you care for a little wine with your vino? I like wine. I like to drink a lot of it. Yeah. Autumn sentiments. Ah, the leaves. They fall, they trickle. This may be the best one of all. Of course, in these parts, fall is the time of beautiful, multicolored falling leaves and lots of deer ticks. No, I don't think we want to go there. How about warmth in winter? Wait a minute, what is that? Oh, hell. I left the door open on the wood stove and some sparks shot out of there and lit the damn carpet on fire. Anyway, we'll stick with lively forest. That seems to be the safest. So why am I doing this? Because I'm in a new GV70 Genesis sport utility vehicle.